Okay, so the bad news is that you will never be successful or reach your goals unless you do this one thing. The good news is this one thing is really easy to do.
Introducing the Paramena Bliss Podcast, a show dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of achieving optimal health naturally as you transition into perimenopause and menopause. Get ready to join your host, Dr. Seth Yates, an experienced naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and kinesiologist, as he shares his wealth of knowledge acquired from over 40,000 patient visits and 15 years in working with perimenopausal females. Welcome to the Paramena Bliss Podcast.
Hey, this is Doc Yates. This is the Paramena Bliss Podcast, brought to you by PerimentalBliss.com and ablehealth.us. And today's actually, according to my little pop-up on the screen here, it's been 1 year now since I've recorded my very first episode. I'm not sure how many episodes I've been doing because it didn't tell me that, but I'm happy to keep going and sharing this information as I make my drive to clinic each day. So, the one thing that you need to do to be successful or reach your goals is to actually track and monitor for success. Because if you're doing something that you can't track and can't monitor, how do you even know if you've accomplished your goal in the first place? And while this seems really obvious, so many people don't do it, or sometimes they only track one thing, and then the problem is that they miss out on all of the other benefits and everything else that they've accomplished that they could kind of build upon and use for motivation to keep going. Because so many times people end up just quitting because they don't realize how far they've come, and they're like, oh, I've done all this and I haven't actually accomplished anything. Actually, you know what? Now I think about it, this podcast could be a great example. I've been doing this now fairly consistently, every week, several times a week, for a year. And it's not like I have a massive podcast following by any stretch at all. But the difference that this has made for my clients, the number of people who have asked me about it, who have said that this podcast has helped them, the number of new clients that we've had in the business, and the number of people that have, contacted me directly that I've noticed that have shared their benefits from this podcast has been really high. So it's definitely motivated me to keep going, and that's why I'm still doing this, because it's been worth my time and worth the time for my clients. So let's get into reasons that you should track things. And whether it's on your phone or writing things down, tracking has been proven to increase your success because, one, it's been shown to improve your motivation. And motivation is such a fleeting thing that anything you can do that improves your motivation and your willpower is going to be helpful. Two, it can be developed as a habit. If you develop the habit of tracking, it will increase the likelihood of you doing the other habits, which is doing. So if you increase your tracking, you're more likely to do. Three, it can improve your focus. By tracking everything on a regular basis, it's going to improve your focus so that you will be trying harder to reach these outcomes. And in doing this, it will automatically improve your success. So if you're improving your motivation, you're improving your focus, you're improving the likelihood you're going to be doing and following your goals, your chances of success are dramatically higher. Now, what about things what should you track? So for a lot of my clients, working with perimenopause, I have a lot of concerns about the symptoms of perimenopause, and then I do a lot of work with weight loss. And unfortunately, generally the only thing that people track is weight. And sometimes they're tracking just that one thing every day. And I'm not opposed to tracking things every day. My concern sometimes is when it comes to weight, is that people get obsessive about the scale and they forget about everything else. So usually, when someone comes in to see me, they have a list of concerns, and weight loss is often in the top 3, typically the top 1 or 2. If that's the only thing they track, and then I'll go through, sidebar, then I will usually go through and ask specifically about all of these other health concerns that I feel could be contributing. So I might ask about their sleep. I might ask about exercise. I might ask about pain. I might ask about digestive issues or bowel habits. I might ask you about what medications and what dosages they're on. I will be tracking all of this. But if you're doing this on your own at home, you should be tracking this information as well. Because what I've noticed is that people who only kind of half pay attention to something barely reach their goals, and the people who only track one thing often lose their motivation because they don't notice everything else that's changing. So there's a lot of times, I had someone recently in the office, and they were frustrated because they're like, you know what, I've been doing this diet for 5 weeks now, and I haven't lost near as much weight as I thought I would lose. And my friend who recommended this, she lost weight a lot faster than this. So then I just went back and I was looking through their file, and I was like, oh, well, besides the weight loss, you also mentioned that, you had this chronic hip pain. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's gone. And I was like, oh, okay. You also mentioned that your sleep was terrible, and you were waking up every night for like several hours, from starting around 1 to 2:30 and getting stuck awake. She's like, oh, no, I sleep great now. This has been amazing. And I was like, well, you mentioned also that your energy was, bottomed out. She's like, no, my energy's way better. I get home from work now, and I actually, I'm starting to, exercise. And then I didn't say anything, and I just saw the light bulb go off in her head, being like, you know what, I'm going to keep going with this plan. And it's just because she wasn't really tracking any of those things, so they weren't in the front of her mind, that all of these important things had significant improvement, because the only thing she was marking down on her phone was her weight. And keep in mind, weight loss is not a linear thing. Weight loss, unfortunately, it would be nice if it was, but it's not linear. So it's not like, oh, every day I'm losing, a quarter of a pound, so that means every 8 days I'm losing 2 pounds. So it doesn't work like that. It's like nothing, drop. Nothing, go up a bit, nothing, drop. And especially for females, if there's any type of slight underlying hormonal cycling still, the way that water retention works with it throws everything off. So that's why I would suggest that you track the following issues if you're in perimenopause or menopause. You would track your weight, but you would also instead of tracking your weight, you got to track your workout. Because when you track your workout, you're more likely to do your workouts, and you're more likely to improve for each workout. And if you're doing that, the next thing you're going to track, which is inches, will improve. Because when people get set up on weight, and if they're exercising more, you will be gaining lean muscle mass, which means that all of a sudden it seems like you're not losing weight, but yet you've dropped 2 pant sizes. And you're like, this doesn't add up. And you don't realize how much more important it is that you've dropped those 2 sizes than you've dropped the weight. Inches trump weight every time. Every time. Because the goal is not weight loss, the goal is fat loss. So if you're losing inches, it means you're losing fat, even if the scale seems like it's staying the same. So track your weight, track your workouts, track your inches. What about other symptoms that you're dealing with? Track if you're having hot flashes. Are you getting hot flashes every hour? Are you getting them all night long? Now are you only getting them 1 or 2 in a day? Track that. Your sleep. What time are you going to bed? What time are you waking up? And are you actually staying asleep? Now, I'm not suggesting that in the middle of the night you're going to get up, open up your spreadsheets, be like, okay, I woke up at this time, now I'm setting a timer. Don't be over the top with it, but make a mental note in the morning, be like, oh, actually, I only woke up just to go to the bathroom last night. I went right back to bed. That's way better than usual. So mark that. Just make a little mark that down in your book. Your moods. Track your moods. Tracking your moods is not only helpful just to see how things are going, but you can track your mood, and then next to that, even if you have a bad day, write down one thing that you're thankful for, and it's going to change your mindset with regards to your mood. So just doing that could improve your mood. But if you're tracking your mood and you're tracking your cycle, you might start realizing patterns that you're like, oh, I was depressed, therefore I'm a depressed person. No. You might have been depressed, and it looks like, when we look here, that you're only ever actually depressed just after your ovulation. For the rest of the time, you're pretty good. So it's not depression that you're dealing with. It's a hormone imbalance that's causing that. Track your energy. Definitely track your pain. Track your pain. If you can see improvements with pain, and generally if it's an inflammatory condition and you're working with pain, around that 3 to 4 week mark is kind of like the magic point when you're doing an anti-inflammatory diet. So you want to track that. So if you're sitting at home being like, I've tried improving my health, I've tried improving my diet, I've tried improving my exercise, and nothing happened. The question I would have for you is that, really? How many things were you tracking? How many better habits had you developed? Had you seen changes in your energy, in your mood, in your ability to handle stress? Any of these things. Write that stuff down. It's a pain, but when I had always tracked my exercise, and when I was tracking my exercise, I was always noticing consistent improvement. And then for a long time, I just didn't. I was like, instead of tracking, I just kept trying all these different random exercises, and that was fun. And I liked it, and I liked trying new things because it would keep things fresh. But I just kind of started getting back into some more set routines again and tracking. And now that I'm tracking, I'm actually seeing that I'm actually getting improvements week to week. Whereas before, I had no idea. I was like, I don't remember how much weight I was doing or how many reps I was doing or how fast I could do it. I was just kind of putting in the time. And when you start tracking, you realize it will improve your motivation because a lot of people are naturally competitive. Even if you don't think of yourself as a competitive person, you like to see things get better. And you can be competitive against your former self to see, how can I improve things? And it's one of those things that if you don't reach those goals, it's not a sign to take a big crap on yourself and be like, oh, I'm useless. But it's a chance to see, what did I do last time? What did I do this time? How can I tweak things so that I can continuously improve as I go? So I hope this was helpful. This is Doc Yates, encouraging you to write things down. And I'm signing off. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paramena Bliss podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and visit paramenobliss.com for more valuable information on how you can thrive during your transition through perimenopause. Join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to achieving optimal health naturally, and stay up to date with the latest tips, tricks, and advice from Dr. Seth Yates. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paramena Bliss podcast.